Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Truck Before. This time, the price. The price for this podcast, free. But you want to support us even more? Go to patreon.com/IABD. Support us there. It's almost free. You can, just to get in on it, go there and support us for I was going to say a small price. That's not the name of this episode. This is the price on It's All Been Trucked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Steven.
And Keith, because the captain ordered me to be here.
Jimmy-Jerome. We're here to talk the price. First impressions.
I liked it a lot. I don't think that'll surprise anyone. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It felt a little bit TOS, but a lot not TOS. We got to see a lot of Troi, a lot of aliens. I thought a lot of the stuff going on was fun, and it definitely a fast-moving episode. A lot going on, and so I was engaged. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, I think one of the differences from TOS is you wouldn't really have a woman expressing that much agency in a relationship in that way, and focusing on Troi in that sense. And I thought this is a good vehicle for finally. Yeah. It still involved empathic abilities and so forth, but it wasn't like, it didn't feel like a forced construct to give her more lines. It was this is a good story for her to advance some character and so on. So
I liked it. The Troi love story honestly was not my favorite part of it, but I liked it overall. I thought it was pretty good.
I like the role that it played in what was happening, not necessarily the love story in and of itself, but I like just seeing how it would work, and also that just oh my God, I'm skipping too far ahead, but just that scene with Raul and Riker, and Raul trying to get a rise out of Riker with that. Just oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the love part so much, but I like the sex part, and I like the other complications of the said love story.
The complications are good.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the episode.
Yeah.
At the beginning, we get several mentions of Loxana Troi, but we don't get to see her, which is kind of disappointing, but at the same time, does remind us of who she is. And it's good that Troi mentions her mother once in a while, because, her mother would be a part of her life.
One of my first notes is that Troi gets a letter on the view screen, which we call email. So, and then it was her. I was like, she's talking to her mom. She's literally talking, because she ends up talking to the computer right after that. So I was like, she is talking to her mom. It's great.
Wait, so what year would this have been now? Is it still
89? We're still 89.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been using email yet, really. I mean, it was available like within college systems if you're using the VAX and so forth. But internet wasn't even like a thing yet still. Right. So
unless you were military.
Yeah.
Higher levels.
Or education.
Yeah, and then Troi tries to order a real chocolate sundae, which, I mean, I don't think a real chocolate sundae would have chocolate ice cream, just going to say right there. Other than that, I thought it was I thought it was an amusing little exchange.
She just wanted the chocolate to be real, right?
Yeah. She wanted real chocolate ice cream with real chocolate syrup, I assume.
Well, that's an interesting, again, it brings up the idea of how the replicator works.
Yeah.
Would it implied that there was like some sort of ship-wide default, or even like a mandate that prevented them from using like the unhealthy version of whatever that would be? I mean, like some sort of chocolate substitute, or could she have overridden that and gotten sugar, or what does that even mean?
At least a couple of the novels have kind of gone with the understanding that each crewman gets their daily allotment of calories and nutrients that they need.
Wow.
And so whatever they order, it kind of manipulates so that they're getting what they should get.
Oh, that's amazing. And that makes sense, but I mean, wow.
I don't think that's canon. I think that's just novels.
I feel like we, in the next 400 years, will make advances and good for you and good tasting.
Yeah, but they'll make it. I mean, I agree with Troi, though, that it's probably not going to taste quite the same, no matter how good they get.
Well,
and honestly, when I read that in the novels, I'm like, I would really like that technology to serve me in my house. So
right.
I could better watch my diet.
Yeah.
No, that makes me think of several things. And that is, if it tastes similar enough, I mean, I think a lot of my poor diet habits are really more about convenience anyway. And it's not like I necessarily have to have this thing be bad for me. It's just, the things that are bad for you are easier to get, and it's just give me that. The other thing,
I don't necessarily need a drink, but I'm having one.
Right.
Exactly. That one I'm not quite with you there, Steven.
No. See, if
maybe today I need a drink.
If they could give me synthahol or whatever, if there were something I could just turn off.
If there was something that tasted good that gave me the effects of alcohol,
yeah,
and then you could turn it off, absolutely.
Well, and absolutely. I thought part of the real chocolate thing was just kind of I think it's a good little sci-fi twist on the cliche of comfort food or women wanting chocolate to comfort them.
Yes, right. There's certainly that aspect of it. It's like, I need a drink to listen to my mother, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also, Troi very famously is a chocoholic. Like that's something that's mentioned over and over again.
What, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
The character.
Right.
Chocolate is her thing, which makes her highly relatable to 20th century women and men.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Arthur Dent trying to order tea. A lot, that kind of thing, negotiating with the replicator for that.
Upload?
Yes, Upload. I love that they're approaching the idea of replicators with 3D printers. It feels like it could be accessible in that way, like having like a fat cartridge or some sort of allotment. So yeah, we've spent now all this time on just eating ice cream, but
so that first scene leads right into them calling Troi to the party that she doesn't want to go to, has no interest in, and she's like, "Well, what should I even wear? I don't have anything formal." And they're like, "Just come in whatever." Which honestly, they're wearing their uniforms, so she should be able to just come in whatever. But I totally felt her of like, I've settled in my room for the night. I don't want to go to this thing. You're making me go to this spot. I don't want to do this. Why?
No, yeah, totally. I am fairly introverted in that sense too. Or just I think anybody, I mean, especially in these trying times or the new normal, if you prefer.
Yeah.
Of once you settle in, you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get to the party, and they're talking about the first and only stable wormhole for sale, and it leads to the Gamma Quadrant, which immediately, of course, my mind's going to Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine features the first stable wormhole, and it goes to the Gamma Quadrant.
You just answered my question, which is, did any of you think it was going to really be a stable wormhole?
No, because Deep Space Nine has the first stable wormhole. And Deep Space Nine wormhole actually is stable because it was constructed by these aliens anyway. But yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be. I remembered this episode and what happened with the wormhole, but I also knew it wasn't going to be because Deep Space Nine's the only stable wormhole in Star Trek.
Okay, well, see, I was going to admit that I was confused because for a second I actually thought that maybe this was that wormhole, and I thought that maybe they were talking about the Bajorans until I actually heard them say it again, like the
Chrysalians.
Was it Chrysalians or
no, Chrysalians were who the Letris guy was representing.
Right. It was something. It was something with a B. It was similar. But it wasn't Bajor. It was
Vani was the name of the leader.
That's why I was for a second. I was like, "Wait, what is this? Is this going to happen?" And I was like starting to wonder if Deep Space Nine was going to come up concurrently. It was like, I swear that Jimmy said that no, it's all after.
Yeah, no, it's all after. It did not come up here. But clearly, somebody was like, "Man, that was a good idea. Let's go ahead and build a series with that as a central element."
I feel like I've seen this episode before. Mm-hmm. But I didn't remember it well enough to know what the twists were going to be. But that played into the next bit, which of course is going to come up with what's his name, Raul Giovanni. What was it,
Giovanni Raul, played by Matt McCoy, who is best known for The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, the new series, Silicon Valley, Seinfeld.
Yes. So, yeah, I was a couple things there.
I was going to say, we have to talk about him on Seinfeld real quick, because Steven always has to talk about Seinfeld.
Wait, I was going to say,
Seinfeld's one of the things he's best known for.
I couldn't place him at first, and I had to go through the IMDb list, and I was like, okay, maybe. Once I got to Seinfeld, I was like, yes, that's who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Serenity now, insanity later.
Oh, my God.
This is his only episode of Star Trek, though.
That's a bummer. I really liked him. I think he's a really, I don't want to say a really good actor, but he was great on Silicon Valley. He was hilarious. He's great as Lloyd Braun. Hand That Rocks the Cradle is just a weird movie.
Oh my God.
The beginning of the Babysitter from Hell, Roommate from Hell, that whole series.
He reminds me, I can't remember the actor's name, but he looks very, very similar to an actor that's working now, that's like that age now. Mm. That's like a CW guy. They put on a bunch of stuff. So I was like, wait, is he not aged just as father? I don't think there's any connection, but he looks very similar. He's a good-looking
guy who can pull off comedy or drama. Yeah, I've always enjoyed the stuff he's done.
I certainly got the magnetic attraction charisma factor. Absolutely, he radiated that.
Something about the like. There's like a, I think you could almost call it like a signature smirk.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like that.
Yeah. You knew he was up to something.
That's what made me recognize him right away. I was like, wait a minute, I know that. Why do I know that face? And yeah.
I'll save my other Seinfeld note for when we get to fashion.
So the other thing about that was that I saw the twist coming, but I couldn't think of it. I couldn't think of whether it was because I remember the episode somewhere deep in my mind, or whether they were telegraphing it so hard.
They were telegraphing pretty hard. Okay,
so that just that instant kind of like sense, almost seeming to sense each other visually across the room, which I was like, they took so long to reveal it in the episode that I thought that I was either misremembering or being mistaken too. I started to write the note like right before they revealed it. I was like, I kept expecting him to be a Betazoid. I guess I was wrong.
I kept thinking, is this somebody she knew before this? Because they seem so familiar with each other. I mean, he was only 1/4 Betazeb, and the only one of 5 siblings that got the gift. But the first scene that they really have where he's like messing with her hair, that I couldn't decide if that was like an old friend doing something she already knew, or if that was non-consensual. It did not feel consensual to me.
I'll jump into my first fashion note. I loved her hair there. It's very Elaine, and that's my Seinfeld note there. And I wrote Mr. Smooth / Creepazoid.
Yeah.
Which is it there? Because I didn't know. I was like you guys, like, do they have a past? What she seems okay with it. And then when he took her hair down, it looked even better. But I thought his character was supposed to be like Rob Lowe's on The Orville.
Oh, with a hormone or something?
Yeah, because
pheromone.
Rob Lowe's, the color of his face and everything, his makeup, is a very teal kind of thing. And that's what he was wearing. So I was like, are these similar people? But it turned out that so I was like, are all the Crystalians, do they all have this power?
But he's a human. Right. 3/4 human, 1/4 Betazed. Right. He's just representing the Crystalians.
That's right.
But yeah, I definitely thought he was manipulating her somehow or forcing her something. It seemed really weird.
Yeah.
While we're on your fashion, though, I loved her off-the-shoulder dress in this episode and her blue uniform in this episode. She got to change clothes a bunch.
She did. I thought it was all great. I'm with you. Her first off-the-shoulder, I thought was the best thing she's ever worn.
Yes.
Until the end, and I thought at the end she had her uniform on, but I didn't think it was the cut she's worn before.
She has variations.
Are you going to skip over the workout gear? Because I thought that was.
That's still on here too. I didn't like hers, but I liked Beverly's.
It is addressed. That scene is addressed here.
No, Keith, we're not skipping. You know us by now. Did you really think we were skipping over the workout gear?
Yeah.
I just like the coloring of Beverly's better.
Yeah, I thought that was like, wow. It was very of its time. And of its time, I mean the late 80s.
Oh, yeah.
But they both look great in it. And it was just like, it might have been the most pervy scene we've had in TNG so far.
I'm going to say might definitely, actually.
I wanted to complain about that workout scene as being directly contrary to the Bechdel test. And yet women should be able to talk to other women about their love interests. Men do too. We should have some scenes of Data and Riker talking it up too,
I went back to watch it a second time specifically to see, like, did I hear this right? But I was like, I'm pretty sure they just talked love life.
Yep.
And they pretty much did. I'm like, okay, so it failed. But I still watched the whole thing.
I liked getting that glimpse into Beverly, though. It was so good. Crusher was so good in that scene where she's like, yeah, I fell very madly in love with a guy instantly once. And Troy's like, oh, is that your husband? She's like, no, this was some other guy. It lasted a week, but what a week.
Well no, it was... I mean, to be fair, I mean, even the stereotypical thing about that aside, it was still humanizing in a way. It was more of a, these are normal people talking about their past relationships. It kind of gave us a little more insight into Beverly's past.
I thought it was great.
The problem is not that they have that scene. The problem is not that they don't have similar scenes of them talking about things that aren't love lives.
Yes. Yeah. No, that scene was great. I love.
Let's have a Crusher and Troi friendship scene regularly, and it's not always about men.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. What was it before? I'm trying to think. Like when did this happen before?
Was also talking about a man.
Yep.
I mean, my mind goes to we've got great buddy pairs in Star Trek going forward. In DS9, we have Bashir and O'Brien, and Voyager, we have Harry Kim and Tom Paris. I'm like, Troi and Crusher should get that same buddy treatment.
People talk about Kirk and Spock, and we've had Marianne and Amanda on this show talk about these guys should kiss, and it's like, yeah, we can get it. Give us just a little bit. I mean, we get it all the time, but we can't look away from these two beautiful women being friends. And I don't mean they should kiss. I just mean seeing these two hanging out is awesome. Yeah. And in this scene, obviously they do. And it's a funny scene. And I love Troy's line, maybe I should slow down. And Crusher's like, nah, cut. That's a perfect blow line. Move on to the next scene.
I feel like
they both said "nah" together actually at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. That's even better.
I feel like it's not until Star Trek Discovery with Burnham and Tilly that we really get a good female friendship that's fully developed.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Janeway in 7 of 9 kind of in Voyager, but
To go back to the question I think we answered, is this the most sexual TNG episode? Or
no.
It was the
so far.
No,
I thought it was the most exploitative. The workout scene where that was the most pervy.
Check them out. Yeah,
yes,
that was a pretty pervy scene. Yes.
What's the most sexual episode?
Should we blame the writer or director for the pervy scene? Because it was directed by Robert Scherer, who directs 11 episodes of Next Generation. This being his third. He did Measure of a Man. He's got some great ones. And he did a couple episodes of Voyager, but it was written by a woman, Hannah Louise Scherer. Scherer, spelled different, so I assume no relation to the director.
But whoever decided on the costumes.
Well, but yeah, Hannah Louise Scherer wrote 11 episodes of this series, and this was the last one. So we've already seen all of her other episodes.
I wonder if Gates McFadden was like, you know what? I'm always in this big coat. I'm always in sick bay. Give me tonight, this episode, I get to show off the goods.
I mean, what I kept thinking in that scene was she's a professional choreographer, so of course the stretching and stuff is second nature to her.
Right.
And you can tell by the way she moved.
Yep.
Right. Yes. Okay.
That makes complete sense.
I also thought about the discussion earlier in the season about you're saying something about Marina Sirtis losing weight and wanting to wear more revealing things or something.
That could be too. Yep.
But as far as sensationalist episodes, it would be The Naked Now. I mean, I think that would come to mind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yep. That's a good point. Yep. I thought her last actual uniform, it had the irregular cut across the top, which I didn't think she'd worn before. Maybe she has. And
I don't think she did, but I like it.
It was very Bill Tease, and I loved it. And again, for all the right and wrong reasons, it was great. My last fashion note is not good. I loved everything about the Caledonian, the big tall guy.
Yeah.
I liked all his stuff. It wasn't explained at all. I don't care. I dug that guy. So anyway.
The big Caledonian's name was Leor, and he was played by Kevin Peter Hall.
Yeah.
Best known for Predator 2 and Predator, playing the Predator.
Yeah.
Wow, as well as Harry and Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah.
Huh.
He played big, tall people.
He played college basketball, but only for a year or two, and then he decided, I don't really like this. He was 6'9", I think.
This was his only episode of Trek.
Yeah, he died not long after.
Yeah, he was 6'9", died in 1991 at age 35.
Yeah.
Oof.
Complications from AIDS, I think.
So now he's nothing.
Oh.
That's too bad. Yeah, I liked it. He didn't have a lot to do, but I liked him in it.
Yeah, I just, his appearance was like, okay, that's a different looking alien. So I really liked him too.
So jumping back to near the beginning of the episode, the Ferengi show up and demand to be part of the negotiations, and they beam over. And I don't know why, but it really tickled me how much they wanted chairs and kept talking about chairs.
Oh, that was great. That was a great bit.
I love the Ferengi so much in this episode. I haven't liked them that much, and now this episode, I love those guys.
Well, they're starting to figure out how to play them, because I feel like they tried to make them a villain, and then what they're realizing is they're much better as comic relief. And that's basically what they're used for going forward. Like I said, there's a ton of, there are Ferengi main characters in DS9. One main character and several major reoccurring characters. And every time they do a full Ferengi episode, it's one of their comedy episodes. So, yeah.
I thought it's like an improved version of Mud. They're actually funny, and all they care about is money. And I thought they were so funny this episode. And I love Riker shooting back. Send your own, Goss. He was so pissed.
Damon Goss was the leader. Was played by Scott Thompson, who's best known for the movie Twister, the movie Police Academy, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Doesn't have a lot of credits, but he's been in some pretty big movies. This was his only Trek credit.
He's the guy who gets Brad Hamilton fired in Fast Times at Ridgemont High because Brad has to cover the cash register for him.
The other two Ferengi, I'm going to hold off talking about those actors yet. But while we're talking about negotiators, Elizabeth Hoffman played the Premier Bravani, that negotiation. She's best known for Dante's Peak, The River Wild, Stargate SG-1, Sisters. This is her only Trek credit as well. We had the Seth Mendoza, who I was looking up. I'm like, is Mendoza a name we heard from the original series? But I couldn't find a Mendoza from the original series. I don't know. But he was played by Castulo Guerra, and he was best known for The Usual Suspects, Terminator 2, The Mexican, The Purge, Anarchy. Just did an arc on Jane the Virgin and Madam Secretary in the last few years. Still around, still active. But I was disappointed he wasn't in it more. Like, he was almost set up to be one of those Commodore types that get in the way and is an antagonist, but then he's taken off the board so early in the episode. And in a funny way. Mm. I mean, joy buzzers have certainly come a long way. The way the Ferengis poison him. I mean, it was so evil and so ridiculous, and yet also, like, well handled, I guess.
Well, I mean,
we just keep talking about it, then we see him stumbling down the corridor.
He was using as an anti-Commodore, kind of there to build up Riker for a bit and make a nice logical transition over to him being taking over the negotiations.
Riker killed it in negotiations. It reminded me a lot of when he served as the lawyer in Measure of the Man against Data. Like, he can really handle this stuff. Picard's the one who's known as the negotiator, but clearly Riker can hold his own in that sort of
Jimmy,
situation.
I want to correct you there. When Picard does it, he's a negotiator.
Oh, I apologize.
He specifically says the negotiations in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I just wrote down Riker's very good. I thought that was a great plot for him.
I love that all the poker opens, which I enjoy, all those, they finally paid off here.
Mm-hmm. It was earned because of the past episodes and references. It wasn't just out of nowhere, which is great.
Right.
I did think Riker's humility was laid on a little thick. Like, oh no, I couldn't possibly do this. But other than that,
I appreciated it, but it did occur to me. But
I mean, I get why he might have a little self-doubt, but he's a cocky guy. I think he'd be. When they mentioned Troy's love interest, that guy, they mentioned that he was from Brussels, which is part of the European Alliance.
Right.
So I was like, ooh, good. I think we've mentioned the European Alliance before in Star Trek, but I was excited for more of like a look at Earth stuff.
I don't recall that. Something in Earth history within Star Trek has...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we mentioned the European Alliance before as like a successor to the European Union, but I can't remember the exact context or episode.
I'm always surprised when someone knows a city on Earth.
Yeah.
But
he was born in Brussels.
Right, that's true. It was easy for him to know it.
And he's 3/4 human.
But I thought she was like, oh yeah, I know where that is. But maybe she's just like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Brussels, it could have been that too.
Yeah. It could have been that, but also Troy's half human and has had relations with human. Her daddy was human. There's plenty of reason to think she'd know about Earth.
And also, we every now and then they throw in these things to let us know like how much better their education system would be by then. And
true.
Knows?
Yeah.
When the Ferengi go to Picard's office and they have to cross through the bridge to get there, I couldn't help but think, wouldn't it make sense to have a separate entrance for Picard's office that you don't have to go across the bridge for? There have to be those situations where people like the Ferengi where you don't want them on your bridge.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I guess he could have met him in a conference room, but he was working and they wanted to bother him.
I thought when Riker finally was like, you overplayed your hand, which was great. I thought it was going to go more the Scott Pilgrim of no, but I thought real hard about, I thought he was going to trick him by thinking real hard about the thing that wasn't true. So he was like, oh, I sense what you were thinking. Oh, but that's not really what I thought. But it wasn't, which was actually more satisfying. But. So
I wrote down about that scene, just Slimeball trying to get under Riker's skin. And he tried 3 different tactics because he couldn't land on one he wasn't finding one that worked. At first, he was almost saying Riker's chicken, which is, of course, known as the Marty McFly technique. But that didn't work. And then he tried to go into, that's why you're second in command instead of captain. But Riker's been offered his own command multiple times, so that didn't work.
That almost worked. I saw that reaction. It was so close.
They took it too far. Worked, but then Riker was probably like, dude, I've been offered. It's fine. But then, I mean, he's probably a little bit sensitive because he always wanted to be captain. But yeah, he made that decision. He's good with it. But it was Deanna that finally got under his skin. And it was very much like this guy wasn't sure what would get to Riker. He was testing different techniques, found one, and tried to go in before he overplayed his hand, which I love Riker's line of, if you can bring happiness to Diana's life, nothing can please me more. And he looked so sincere when he said it. And I feel like it's one of those lines that he wants to believe himself that that's true. I mean, I don't think it's true, but I think he thinks it's true, if that makes any sense. I think he's so in love with her, he's convinced himself that he won't be jealous, but he would be jealous.
Going back, because I did want to comment on that first encounter with Raul and Troi. Realizing now that they probably intentionally made us believe, or made the uninitiated audience believe that maybe they knew each other from somewhere before, because of that sort of recognition, and they even drug it out long enough where it's like, what is going on? Maybe nothing's going on, and then that final reveal. But yes, the creepiness during that scene, you kept expecting the shoe to drop any second, like they were just like play acting or something, but no, she had no idea who he was before, and it's. That feels like such a non sequitur at this point.
I must know the queen. It felt like she was hypnotized.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things that they were showing that it could have been little red herrings.
Geordi and Data take the shuttle through the wormhole, and they're in the Delta Quadrant, not the Gamma Quadrant. A Ferengi are there too. And immediately I'm like, okay, now we've moved from DS9 to Voyager, because Voyager gets tossed in the Delta Quadrant, which is great. And I love the way that was revealed, even though like I remembered that twist coming. But I was like, oh, I thought that it was handled well. It was written well. But I did think when Geordi's standing there trying to talk the Ferengi into coming back through the wormhole, it's like, couldn't you argue with them while you're flying into the wormhole? Why are you sitting there to argue with them? Was my thought. I mean, I know they lose subspace pretty quickly while they're in, but I think the best way to convince the Ferengi is just fly right in there.
And as you know, I love seeing a shuttle and the mini shuttle. The shot of them going through it, the one way was terrible, but then the rest of it was fine. But
the mini shuttle looked like they're like a Mini Cooper. There's nothing to it. It's
yeah. I love the mini shuttle.
So this is where I want to talk about those two Ferengi. Dr. Eridor, played by Dan Shore, who's best known for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Tron, Air Force One, and this role. And then we had the other one who didn't have any lines, Cole, played by J.R. Quinios, who is a production assistant, more crewman than an actor. But he's only got 2 acting credits. One is this and one is an episode of Voyager. But interestingly enough...
before you get too far, I just have to say more crewman than human.
Yeah.
Right.
But interestingly enough, we mentioned Voyager gets tossed into the Delta Quadrant. They do encounter this Ferengi shuttle. And Dr. Eridor does return, same actor, Dan Sure, but they've replaced Cole, who had almost no lines in this episode, with Leslie Jordan playing the character next time around.
Oh, wow.
Love Leslie Jordan. You know, Beverly Leslie from Will and Grace. A little short, super flamboyant, gray-haired guy.
Oh, so funny. The Karen's foil.
Yes. So we will see the Doctor again with a much better version of the sidekick. But those two characters, Dr. Eridor and Cole, Voyager does find them in the Delta Quadrant.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that just seemed too ripe an opportunity to pass up. So I immediately looked it up, and I was like, oh, yeah, they do find them. Good.
I saw something about
the Delta Quadrant's huge, and realistically, the fact that they find them is kind of far-fetched. Yet at the same time, it's like we know so little about the Delta Quadrant. We know the Borg are from there, and we know those Ferengis are lost there. So you have to deal with both of those things. The Ferengi were a one-off episode. Obviously, the Borg are a major part of half of Voyager, but the Caledonians were certainly talked out of the bid really easily. They hadn't considered before what it would mean if they owned the wormhole, that they'd have to deal with everybody and administrate it.
As it turns out, that was like one of my notes I just wrote in while we were talking earlier. I actually like that even though they didn't over-explain who they were and what they were about, they had that conversation with Raul where he kind of explained for us as he was characterizing them as being scientists who wouldn't want to have to deal with this sort of thing. So
scientists can be pretty narrow-minded, very focused on what they're worried about, nothing else. So I guess that would explain how they didn't even consider the full ramifications of buying it. However, their whole race can't be scientists. They got to have some people in there worried about the administrative stuff.
I thought that was more of a, for lack of a better term, Jedi mind trick of Donnie Riles. Convince that guy that, oh yeah, you guys don't want to do this.
There is something about that scene, the way they were playing it. It did kind of feel like they were suggesting that he was pushing in some way. There's something about their mannerisms with each other. It seemed like he was convincing him.
This isn't the wormhole you're looking for.
Yeah.
This is not the
We got a better one over
for.
by Deep Space Nine. We'll sell you.
Well, so have they ever established that Betazoids have more than a one-way communication, or as far as like influencing emotions?
So Betazoids don't have influence, but they have full telepathic capabilities. However, Troi being half is only an empath, and Rawl being only a quarter, I would assume can't be more than an empath, meaning they just sense general emotions, not actual thoughts.
Can full Betazoids actually push anything?
No, they just can read your every thought. So by that way, they can, through language, manipulate you.
I just keep hearing, I'll be your Betazoid. Come on and wind me up.
And also, Keith, if they could do that, they would not have been conquered during the Dominion War and had their planet enslaved, which is coming up. Anyway.
Hey, do you guys know what the blue book value is on a stable wormhole?
No, I don't. I liked Troy's fork, her super stabby little.
Yeah, well,
Roxana had a similar one when she visited, but I can't remember if we've seen it aside from the Troys.
I couldn't remember seeing them either. Yeah, those were cool. I don't know if they're any more or less effective than a regular fork, but yeah.
I mean, they look sharper, so I would think that would make them a little less or a little more effective.
Yeah.
The ethics debate between Troi and Rawl over whether he should use his powers, I thought was interesting and certainly worth having.
I thought so too. I thought it, especially because it dovetailed in a lot of conversations we've had. I don't know if we've got that deep, but I thought even though that guy is a jerk and whatever we think of him, I thought, yeah, buddy, you're right. And I don't. For me, her justification, it wasn't a slam dunk.
Yeah,
for me, it was like you're talking. It was kind of that same thing of. You're talking yourself into this, but you're not talking anybody else into it, really.
But apparently he believed her and bought it, because then at the end he's like, you should save me, be my conscience, run away with me. Did you think that was sincere, or do you think he was just trying to weasel out of the situation?
I was going to ask the exact same question. Did you guys think it was a sincere offer, or did she just sense the BS, and that's why she was like, no?
I think it was probably a sincere offer. Or at least in the moment, he thought it was a sincere offer. He may have regretted it later.
No, see,
but I think she just wasn't interested.
No, I think it was a very good representation of what we see is toxic relationships or toxic people. He may believe it himself, but there's just that cliche of men needing women to fix them, and that kind of,
or to be called on their bullcrap. Nobody's called him on it. He finally found one that did. Of course, he wants to hang on to it.
Oh, I also think he wanted to do some grifting. The two of them could do some more grifting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And two, perhaps.
That's my alternate episode. They're going around the galaxy grifting everybody.
I'd watch that.
I didn't have one, so I'm just going to go with that. I like it.
That sounds good to me.
One line he used made me laugh, and it made me think of Simpsons. In negotiations, having a heart can be fatal. It made me think of the Itchy and Scratchy episode where they had the newspaper go, you need a heart to live.
Having a heart is always fatal. At some point, it's going to stop. That's a fact.
I kind of enjoy that Troi exposed him for nothing, like it ultimately didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I like the twist that the Federation lost the negotiation, and again, it didn't matter. Like, normally I don't like episodic things where the slate's just wiped clean at the end of the episode, but for some reason, the way this one did it, I enjoyed. Probably because he kind of got his comeuppance.
Yes.
And the good guys won in the end, even though they didn't win, they won.
Is it
you actually
Troi
stole the word
says,
right out of my mouth.
Is it Troi that says when she's exposing him, you're just performing a scene for us?
I think so.
Yes.
And I wrote down,
because he manipulated the Ferengi too. And I love when the Ferengi captain's like, I was tense. I was ready to blow it up. Like, clearly. And I love even more that Picard could just turn off the screen.
Yeah. I wrote down, when she said performing a scene for us, I wrote down in all caps, not believable. So, yeah, they could have acted that out.
It was so funny
better.
that it was the Ferengi at the end.
Oh, it was great.
And the way they played it. Oh,
it was so funny. So funny.
Good.
The negotiator or the auctioneer says, for the right price. She almost said.
Yeah, I thought the same thing earlier.
She was so close. Great mini bar on the Enterprise where they were able to get that champagne during the one of the seduction scenes. And Donnie Rao says, she's like, I'll tell them we'll be late. Very late. What a braggart. What a braggart. Come on. You might be an empath. That doesn't mean you're the world's greatest lover. Or, sorry, galaxy's greatest lover. Speaking of which, there's that scene where they're talking in bed after I would presume they've done it. The music in that scene is horrible. It is so terrible. It is so bad. I almost couldn't listen to what they were saying because the music was just... I was like, what is this, Twin Peaks?
What was it, like saxophones or something? What was it? I don't remember.
It wasn't even that. It was too melodramatic. And like, I get David Lynch because it took me a while, but I'm like, okay, I get what you're doing. But here it just is like, no, what is going on here? It wasn't even, it was after they did it. It was before and it was saxophone. That'd be cool. This was after and it was just like, they're talking about serious stuff, but it's not that melodramatic. So it wasn't a stinger either. It was just like, this is too much. They mentioned, and goes into my other area of expertise in the real world, it's a dry well, which I thought was interesting that that's still a thing. I guess it would be because they're still exploring and they're still miners.
There's colonists.
There's miners in the 24th century. So yeah, there's plenty of dry wells, I would think. Mm-hmm. But I would think they would realize how bad fossil fuels are. But maybe on other planets, they're not as bad. And they're not fossil fuels. They're drilling for other things. Speaking of 20th century terms, they mentioned lemon, which I thought was cool. Because then somebody's like, oh, I think it's Data's like,
yeah, there was Data's part.
We don't have time. I can't explain what a lemon is right now, which he was right. They were right. We don't have time. We have a lot of other stuff to get to in this episode. My alternate episode, Journey to Babel 2, because there's all the aliens on board.
I thought the same thing.
And if not for Sarek being in Babel, A Journey to Babel, I might like this even more. Or maybe I just like the aliens more, but I didn't. My other alternate episode is Troi Project Runway. Just all her outfits were just, it was great. And, good for Marina Sirtis and good for Troi. And I don't necessarily mean that all in a pervy way. She looked great. She looked great.
Wesley, scale 1 to 10.
What did he do in this? Was he in it? I mean,
he was in it.
Yeah.
I looked at the large. I can't remember if he was in it or not either. So I looked at Memory Alpha's large hypnosis of the episode, and the only mention of him is he announces the shuttle is returning from the wormhole. Although there was a deleted scene from the script that probably wasn't filmed, where Wesley's talking to Counselor Troi about troubles he had with his mother because she wouldn't let him stay overnight at a party on the holodeck, and I'm kind of glad that scene was not part of it. Also, they would have had O'Brien talking about his girlfriend, which I would have appreciated that, but whatever.
That would be fun.
I guess the idea is that they're showing Troi actually counseling, as Raul was accusing her of always doing.
So I'm giving Wesley a 1 because he was just doing his job and did nothing that annoyed me.
Me too.
I agree with that. And 1, I couldn't even remember him being in it. So.
That's what I say. He's just doing his job. He's being fine. Who is your annoyance of the week?
Mine's Lloyd Braun / Donnie Rao. Even though I did very much enjoyed Matt McCoy, I also enjoyed the Troi, you're a hypocrite speech. But
yeah, I got to go with Raul as well. I don't have a better answer. I enjoyed.
That said, I'd love to. I know we're not going to see him again, but I would love to see him in another episode.
I would rather see Billy Campbell. What was his character's name? The Okana. I'd rather see him.
Yeah, me too. I'd rather see Okana too. That
or Harry Mudd.
Yep.
No, I agree. I mean, there's not really a better choice. I would say that especially at the end that nailed it home. There's something about that whole "please, I need you to fix me" gambit at the end, kind of.
So are we all choosing Raw as our crush as well?
I think I'm going to stick with another Braun or Brahms, Leia Brahms.
Leia Brahms.
Leia Brahms. Almost a Braun.
I always think they probably named it after the composer, but I'm not sure.
Oh, that makes sense. Not the vacuum cleaner. Isn't there a Braun vacuum cleaner?
I don't know. I liked the brunette at the ops station and Data's seat early in the episode. She didn't have any lines. I just thought there was a good shot of her front and center, and I thought she was attractive. I'm starting to be like Steven. I'm picking up these random crewmen that don't have lines.
Yeah, I feel like TNG is reaching where TOS got real early, where it's like we're going to find the prettiest women and men too, for that matter. And there's no reason that people that aren't beautiful shouldn't be everybody on this ship.
Well, this is the popular kids ship.
That's right. And I think about that all the time too, which I think that's a good way to think about that ship all the time now. Because I mean, like TOS, I feel like the Enterprise is just, you're the suckers that are going way out there, but you're not our flagship. You're the suckers.
They were the flagship eventually. They might have been the flagship from the beginning because Pike's reputation on the ship. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember if they were the flagship or not, but Enterprise D was definitely the flagship.
Yeah.
In large part because of Kirk's missions and the legends of the Enterprise. Voyager and DS9, well, DS9's not a ship, but their ship, the Defiant, those are not flagship ships. Discovery's not a flagship ship. The Cerritos on lower decks is not a flagship ship. And we start to see some different elements when you go away from the flagship. The darker, less idyllic parts, which I like. I like a lot.
Definitely.
Keith, your crush.
You know, it's funny. You were mentioning the whole picking up on random people thing. I'm not going to switch, but it's, for once, for the first time in quite a while, I noticed the crew woman who the Ferengi in the bar was hitting on.
Oh yeah,
the second one, not the first one who said no. The one who actually had no lines. You only see her ponytail.
I was waiting to see more of her. I was with you too. I was like, if they have a conversation, we were talking. Like, I want to see this person.
I mean, I think both of the women in the bar that the Ferengi hit on were pretty attractive.
And again, that just made me love the Ferengi even more.
I mean,
they're not all about money.
No, they do they have some very backwards thoughts on gender, which we'll also get into quite deeply on DS9, as some Ferengi try to bring the rest of the race kicking and screaming into the modern age of letting women wear clothes, because women are forbidden to wear clothes on Ferengi. I'm not kidding. They are.
I believe you. No,
they mentioned something like that in the first TNG, or one of the earlier episodes, didn't they?
They did. They're very sexist.
What's strange, well, I don't know. I don't know how strange it is, but it feels very much like that human-centric view of them finding human women attractive.
Well, and so the Ferengi, they're super greedy, super self-centered, very sexist, but then they still try to hit on attractive women. They're the Republican Party, but much funnier.
Yes.
I mean...
funnier in different ways.
No, that's
much funnier. Much funnier. Okay, so let's rank the episode. Let's start with where we were last week, the enemy. Better or worse than last week?
I might be the outlier. I really like this episode. It just says from a fun aspect. I think I like this one more.
It was a lot of fun. I probably would have go a little lower, though.
Yeah.
Man.
We like to speak first to make Keith be the tiebreaker. It happens a lot.
Keith, next week we will let you pick first.
I would say this feels like above to me right now.
Okay.
There's man, it's tough.
I'm not gonna throw a fit about above. I thought it was a fun episode, and I think
the war thing from last week, as you said, that was such a strong thing, and it was like an important thing. But there was so much more. All right, there's more going on in this one. There's something.
I do think the fact that they follow up on the Ferengi in the future in Voyager makes me want to rank it higher. Just that.
I'm convinced right there. And also, this is one of those episodes where they include new alien races without making it this is an offhanded thing. These things should happen more often, you would think.
And they finally use the production well.
That too. Yes, that's a good modern representation of them. So
right above the enemy, even though I probably wouldn't have gone any lower than that. I probably would have put it right below the enemy. But above the enemy is Booby Trap. Obviously, I would go lower, but if you two agree, it should go higher.
I'd like this more, and maybe it's just one of those, it just struck me. And there's Journey to Babel references. And
Journey to Babel is a better episode. I'm going to say that.
Right. It is. And, I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, oh.
This isn't bad, but Journey to Babel is a great episode.
There's so much I forgot about that episode. So I just think from an aliens perspective, this one we got into more. Although there's a ton of great aliens. I mean, we meet the Andorians.
I feel like a lot of the elements we're talking about here, how much fun the Ferengi are, the follow-up of the Ferengi, the references to Journey to Babel, it's things outside this episode that make this episode seem better. Not completely, but I feel like it's getting some help from outside in context.
my gut reaction is to put it above right now, but that's just
okay. That's fair. I will fight you both if you say it goes above Who Watches the Watchers for the number one spot of the season. So
yeah,
I will fight to keep it below that.
Yeah. When I first think of Proto-Vulcan, I'm like, oh, that episode was okay. And then I actually think about the episode, like, nah, there was a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
Plus Ray Wise.
Speaking of Twin Peaks. Yep.
And Pamela Adlon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're good with the price being at number 2?
I can settle that. Yeah, I can live with that.
Cool. Yeah, I can live with number 2. Next week, The Vengeance Factor. The Enterprise pursues a race of gatherers who continue to raid Federation outposts unaware of the dangers lurked among them. I don't remember this episode at all, but I do see on IMDb there's an attractive woman in it, so Steven will probably be happy.
I'm already more excited than I was just based on the generic action film title.
And she's blonde.
You're selling me. I can't wait.
You had me at there's something unexpected they weren't, that's going to happen. Unexpected
I will
danger.
say something to look forward to. The episode after that is The Defector, and it features the return of Commander Tomalak, the Romulan from last week.
Cool.
So we don't have long to wait for his second appearance.
I wonder what he's going to be doing in that.
Well, the episode's called The Defector.
Yeah. The
synopsis is when a Romulan officer defects to the Federation with a warning of an impending invasion, Captain Picard struggles to decide if he is to be believed. So that's in 2 weeks.
That sounds good. It sounds like my crush will likely change next week, is what I'm hearing.
To Tomalak? That's
in 2 weeks. Before that.
That's in 2 weeks.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Never mind.
This makes me want to reference a post I made in my public personality page on Facebook about just the titles and so forth, and just that continuum of, Who Watches the Watchers versus like The Defector is giving away like what exactly is going to happen in the episode. It's just,
I feel like right now we're in a run of bad titles after Who Watches the Watchers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with Booby Trap, but the enemy, the price, vengeance was next week's episode?
The Vengeance Factor. Yeah.
The Vengeance Factor.
It's the worst Dirty Harry movie by far.
Yeah, these are not doing it for me title wise, but there's so many really good episodes that we're so close to. I'm ready for it. I think The Defector is going to be good if I remember right. We're almost to yesterday's Enterprise.
Sure, it'll be decent. It's just that I don't like it when I don't like it when they give away that much.
I should spoil for Steven right now. Yesterday's Enterprise does not refer to Kirk's Enterprise. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, and it doesn't refer to tomorrow as yesterday.
No, thank God.
Thank God.
No, the Enterprise in question is the Enterprise C. We'll get to see what the Enterprise before the Enterprise D. We get a glimpse of that. So,
anyway. I will amend that I don't like those obvious titles in advance, but I certainly appreciate them when we're ranking afterward. Like, what episode was that? The Price. Oh, yeah.
Who Watches the Watchers? I don't remember what that was.
Where Silence Has No Lease? That doesn't ring a bell?
Is there in Truth No Beauty?
Now that rings a bell. That rings a bell.
I love that episode.
I do too.
Anyway.
I still don't remember what that is now.
Dinah Muldaur, blind, the Medusans. He lives in a box.
With Diana Dr. Pulaski in the original series. Never mind.
Yeah.
Until next week, we'll let Keith look it up. Live long.
Oh, wait. No, sorry. Go ahead.
He almost had it. Be careful that you don't give your heart to an empath and prosper.
Unless you're ordered to do it.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?